through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Matt Williams got a brilliant start from the third row of the grid.
He's gone, he's hit him, he's straight off at the chase.
And a half-second lead. Oh, with the sizzling car in the background.
He has it. Oh, he's round, he's round on the last lap.
There's a massive, massive accident.
Next to the inside, what a move, what a move.
A pleasure to have you, beg your pardon for that graphic, that's incorrect. But a pleasure to have your company tonight. We're here in Adelaide for the final round of the Supercars Championship here in Adelaide. It's where the championship started back in round 1, and here we are in round 13 for the historic version of the circuit. This is, as I mentioned, the final round, the title decider in the 2018 AMS Oz Supercars Championship. On behalf of Short Shift Podcast and Apex Rear Wing TV, for the very last time in this series, it's my pleasure to welcome Madbird.
Thank you, Stairs. We're here in Adelaide, a city near and dear to both of our hearts, I think it's safe to say. And final round of the championship, it's not looking, well, it's looking like it's going to be a tricky proposition for Lewis to bring this one home, isn't it?
It most certainly is. Let's have a quick look at the point situation. And there you have it. After some post-race penalties last round in Pukekohe, Brenton Hobson was subsequently promoted from 5th place up to 3rd place, gifting him another 4 points, meaning that he has a 14-point advantage over Lewis Wedding coming into this round, which means that he needs nothing short of a minor miracle in order to lose the championship. Well, Lewis Wedding needs nothing short of a minor miracle to win the championship. I got there eventually.
You did. So as you say, yeah, we've got Hobbo with a 14-point lead in first position, 154 points. Lewis Wedding second with 140 points after a very, I would say, heartbreaking Pukekohe race. Will Devonish, a solid third with 107 points, but he's got Kurt Stenberg, who has only participated in 6 races, nipping at his heels with 103 points. Matt Williams, Scruff, he's just stuck in there, done the hard yards, and he's still up in 5th place, so well done to him, 92 points. Aaron Thomas, who hasn't been around for a while, 84 points. Aiden Schultz, ditto, 69 points. I lie, he's actually here tonight. We've got Brock Harvey and Baker in 8th and 9th places with 64 and 63 points respectively. Baker not here tonight, so Brock is safe from that one. And Colin Warwick, who also, much like Stenny, has only been here for a few races, he rounds out the top 10, even with Cracker in the Hungry Jacks car. And that's the Super A and B qualifications. We've got, in the Super 2s, Brendan Foley leading the championship. Don't think he can lose it from here. In fact, he definitely can't.
He wrapped it up some eons ago.
That's a solid 52-point lead over second place Philip Boak. So front 2 lockout there in the championship for PBF Race Engineering. Cam Rutledge in 3rd place with 98 points. Brendan Ross, 95. Luke Joyner, 67. Cameron Costa, who hasn't been around for a while, 66 points. Rob Dunn down in 7th, 56. Gary Neville in with 36. And David Keane with 30. But there isn't very much in the way of participation with the Super 2s. Rounding out the top 10 is everyone's crowd favourite who hasn't been around for a while, Big Dog! With 29 points. Back to you, Stairs.
Fantastic pronunciation of that name. They got 10 from the Russian judge. Let's have a look at the race. The race to be. It's, of course, a 48-lap race around this. That's the wrong bloody circuit. Beg your pardon. I am all sorts of all over the place tonight. I did render out a graphic here. And let me just see if I can find it. Dearie me. Thank goodness this is the final round of this championship. Anyway, forgetting that, I'll tell you the details. It's a 3.78 kilometre circuit around Adelaide, and we'll be doing 47 laps of it. So without further ado, here is some qualifying action. And thank you for Scotty Nolan in there wishing me a great call. I don't think it's a great start to this, but we can only go up from here. My goodness, we've got a lot of people watching along in the live chat. What a time for me to have my worst start to a call so far. But anyway,
you're doing great, mate.
47 laps around here would be a tall order. It's the old version of the circuit, so it's a longer circuit. We'll detail the corner differences in the not too distant future. Well, actually, we've got Emily coming around to start a lap, so let's go on board with her as she takes us around this Adelaide Street Circuit Grand Prix version.
Yeah, good old Adelaide Grand Prix circuit. I think you're going to be there on Sunday, aren't you, Stairs?
Yeah, well, probably Saturday or Sunday we'll figure it out. There's been some issues with my personal schedule, which I won't talk about in too much detail, but that is by the by. Adelaide Motorsport Festival happening up there at Victoria Park as Emily aborts that lap. So let's find Jake Maloney coming into the final corner. This is echoes of you and Scruff commentating at Alton Park. But Jake Maloney coming down the start-finish straight. Bit of traffic ahead of him. I can see the Botlow car in front, but this very, very, very fast centre chicane on the left-hand side there's actually a monument to Ayrton Senna, which often has flowers around about the 1st of May after his untimely death 24.5 years ago. But this part of the racetrack they call the staircase, and it doesn't. It's not named after myself. It is merely because of the right angle corners that make it look like a set of stairs. And then this is where the track differs to the current V8 version. The market corner up towards the Stag Hotel on the left there, and this right-hander onto this short straight down to the Brewery Bend kink, which of course people who were watching in 1995 will remember is where Mika Hakkinen had his tyre failure and very, very nearly died there. And thankfully the Royal Adelaide Hospital not too far away, so they were able to get him to life-saving treatment sooner rather than later. The Brabham Straight, where Mansell lost his rear tyre in the 1986 Championship decider into a very, very good overtaking opportunity. Nearly said opportunity, which is not a word, which I really don't need to remind you of, Liam, because you're pretty good with your words. Coming into the final sector, the purpose-built part into the Victoria Park racecourse. Final corner here for Jake Maloney. Around that second hairpin, back onto the main straight, and that is a lap of the Adelaide Grand Prix circuit.
Well done, Stairs. Absolutely brilliantly done. Yeah, it's the Brewery Bend right-hander sort of takes the spot of turn 8 in the V8's version of the track, which I think they're kind of notorious for the same sort of reason. They're a very fast right-hander that if you miss your timing just slightly, then well, Brewery Bend, you're going off hitting some rumble strips and messing up your lap. Turn 8, you mess it up, you're hitting the wall.
Yes, and well, the thing is, if they were in Formula 1 cars, as Thomas McMillan comes a cropper, Jake Maloney currently sitting in provisional pole position, if you make a mistake in turn 8 in these cars, it very much is the end of your race, but in Formula 1 cars, it probably would have been quite easily flat. Brewery Bend, I think, presents a challenge in both downforce cars and these cars.
Yeah, it's difficult to. I've never been confident, let's say, going through there. It's been a while since we did the GP layout, but every time I went through there, I'd sort of be guessing where to tap the brakes and fling it in, and that's never something that you want. I'm sure a lot of these guys are probably a lot more competent than me and have that stuff nailed down, but I never really knew what the right line through there was. Yeah,
for me, I think that the best part of the track, part of the old version of the track, is that left-right corner, just going on towards Hutt Street. I believe they call that the market corners. That is a very interesting chicane, just coming up to that right angle corner to the right. So that's an interesting corner, one of my favourites.
Yeah, as you say, that is where it differs from the V8's version. And it's an interesting opportunity there for some people to get caught out, maybe go a little bit deep on the exit and across the rumble strips, which can almost give you a benefit, but also unsettles the car. So it's a bit of a toss-up how to approach that. And if you're right up behind someone, there's every chance that you'll be coming out the other side of it, right in front of them.
Jake Maloney making his way onto Wakefield Street. These are public roads. We can most assuredly remind you, to anyone who doesn't live in Adelaide, but of course they are closed for this race, so you needn't worry. there won't be, you or I will not be driving along these roads.
There won't be any
during the race.
Alexander Rossi style coming around a corner and finding a four-wheel drive driving directly towards you.
But lots of curbs to launch the car, so there could very well be a Sophia Flosh style crash into a fence, backwards even. So
hopefully not. Although everyone, I think I don't think I'm exaggerating to say everybody's happy to hear that she's basically fine. Which really, by all rights, she should be well dead. But but she isn't, and like I say, I think we're all happy about that.
yes, I'm certainly happy about that. Anytime a open wheel car driver doesn't lose their life is a fantastic thing. Just to answer the question of Mike Coulston as to who is driving his Dick Johnson racing car from the early 2000s, that livery, that is Ethan Warren sporting the number 17. 17, quite poignant. The championship winning car on Sunday in the equivalent event on Sunday at Newcastle.
Jaden Draper's had a very big moment. Where's that? That's in the staircase. Came a cropper with someone else. I'm not sure who it was. So that won't be helping. I think it was Dane Warren. That won't be helping out their qualifying efforts as we've got 5 minutes and 40 seconds left in this session.
Here's a replay of Draper. He was... it looks like he was a bit distracted by Cam Rutledge there. Cam Rutledge just went on at turn 4, and then Draper was trying to get out of the way off the racing line because his lap was compromised, and then got collected by one of the Warren brothers there. So interesting start to this qualifying session. And I say start, we're already 10 minutes in.
Absolutely. 16 runners in the server at the moment. Jake Maloney and Thomas McMillan being the pace setters at the moment. Although, having said that, Ethan Warren and Dane Warren, both very close behind. Scary brothers, those two. Hobson, our title protagonist, in 5th place currently, and about 7/10 off pole. Lewis Wedding, our other title protagonist, currently in 15th, having set 1 lap, which didn't have a time. So he's out there at the moment, and I think we're all hoping, for the sake of the title fight, that he finds some pace and gets himself up there stairs.
Yes, having not set a time, well, he is on track with the Green-Eyed Monster, the 00 car, made famous by Craig Lowndes in the early 2000s. A couple of Lowndes tributes going on there as Lewis backs it into the hairpin there, and that won't be particularly beneficial for his time. But of course, the other championship, oh goodness gracious me, Colin Warwick's having some issues. The other championship protagonist of Brenton Hobson, who's moved his way up into 3rd place, by the way, running the 888 livery there of Craig Lowndes. So Craig Lowndes' final appearance as a full-time Supercars driver last Sunday, and quite an emotional moment, I think, for a lot of these drivers. Probably one of the few drivers who's been around in 2 different millennia.
Yeah, it's a name. I'm not particularly into supercars, but it's a name that I've definitely been aware of, which I can't say for a lot of supercar drivers, outside of your obvious, your
Scott
Brox
McLaughlin,
and that sort of thing. Yep, yeah, Scott McLaughlin.
Current
I definitely
champion.
know. Yep, I'm aware of that one, but yeah, Craig Lowndes is probably, if someone had put a gun to my head, 5 years ago and said name a V8 driver, that probably would have been the name that popped up. But
moving forward, Madbird, into next year, who would you answer now, since Craig Lowndes is no longer a full-time driver? What names would you put forward in answer to that very poignant question?
What if someone put a gun to my head and said name a V8 driver?
Yeah, a current one.
Reynolds.
There you go. Not a bad pick. I think David Reynolds is probably one of the all-time favourites of the fans at the moment, because he's just such an interesting bloke to listen to.
That certainly helps. When you need to have a bit of charisma when you're a motorsport driver, because you have to do a lot of talking to people, a lot of events. As Ethan Warren goes first, that's not even a 10th faster than Jake Maloney, so quite tight up there at the top. Lewis Wedding aborted his lap before and went back to the pits. So that's cost him even more time.
Well, he's only
Still
got
hasn't
2 minutes left in this session, so he's going to have one go at it. Is he planning to start from the back? Is he just doing one of those Lewis Wedding's head-scratching moments today?
Possibly. He might get 2 laps in because he is coming around the last corner now. So he will, if he sets any representative lap time, he should cross the line again before it hits 0. So he will get 2 goes at it. Maybe he's just banking on pure adrenaline, just pushing him over the line at the last moment.
Mine is going faster.
Sorry, very aggressive through the chicane was Lewis, but that's how you got to take it, I suppose.
Just to clean up a bit of a mess in the live chat, there's a lot of people there talking about my my untimely death back in September. That didn't actually occur, but I do appreciate being compared to Richie Benno. Unfortunately, there's no one in the timing screens whose time ends in .222.
And I'm also hearing someone from the Holy Trinity, that bearded guy. That was actually me, but it wasn't the Holy Trinity.
Oh, it wasn't Jesus Trist?
It wasn't Jesus Trist. It was Books McZood, and he was part of the holy duality of Books and Madbird.
Oh, you know what's an amusing name?
What's that?
Treblecock. It's not relevant, but I didn't.
Treble is in 3 and cock is in penis.
Yeah, I mean.
Treble cock.
Man, you need to find someone called Triple Clunge to... anyway, we'll move on. Because Jake Maloney is on an absolute rip terror of a... well, he's just finished his lap, but 0.3 of a second up on his nearest competitor. Brenton Hobson has really come alive pace-wise. He seems to qualify pretty well in these races, and tonight is no exception.
Definitely not. Lewis into 11th place on his first lap. He is going to get another one in. Got 7 seconds in hand as he crossed the line. So let's all hope that it's better than that. As it looked like he had a bit of a distraction. Oh, no, never mind. He's binned it intentionally by the looks of it. He went through that chicane, and I think someone had binned it ahead of him because there was a tyre bouncing across the track, which that'd certainly throw me off.
I feel like he'll be kicking himself if Hobbo does DNF on the first lap and then he can't get up to the necessary positions required to take out the championship.
Absolutely, and just to go back to what we were talking about before, if it was in Japan, the one would probably be called Mitsu Slit.
Because a slit being something of high value, you
Exactly.
use the term Mitsu instead of
Sun.
sun.
Correct, yes.
Just in case anyone was wondering why it's not Sunbishi, it's Mitsubishi,
exactly.
because a Bishi being diamond, I believe, and
Diamond.
Mitsu being 3 of something of value, because the Japanese use different words for their numbers when they're talking about something of value.
They do, which you know, it would certainly help to sort out some problems, like if you.
Sorry, Dane Warren's just popped up in the lead by some margin, 0.6 over Thomas McMillan. So Jake Maloney shuffled down to 3rd place.
That was that's a hefty lap. But Jake Maloney was probably feeling quite comfortable when he was sitting there in his pit garage at the end of the qualifying session, and now he's looking at the timing boards, going, "What? How did this happen?"
Yeah, that's a bit bad, because he'd be feeling a bit sheepish, I think, after that. So anyway.
Oh my god.
Everyone's finished. That's the end of the qualifying session.
Absolutely.
We'll let that one go through to the keeper, shall we?
We will. I was going to say, having different words for numbers when there's something valuable would certainly happen when, if you, for example, were talking about a nugget, you might be talking about a lump of turd or a golden chicken nugget.
Well, I have it on good authority that Emily's currently in Japan right now, so perhaps she could ask if they do have a different term for something that is of no value at all. Like a turd. Well, I mean, it depends, you know. Ask a gardener, they'd love a turd.
They would love a turd. Hey, you just, well, if you ever need to get rid of a turd, ask a gardener, because they lap it up.
The nutrients in turds are just fantastic for growing plants. What am I talking about? Just to, Brenton Foley actually had issues in the qualifying session with his steering, so he had to quit out to try and rectify the issue, so that's why he didn't take to the track during that qualifying session, and will be starting from the back of the grid.
Absolutely. Very, very sad there for Foley, but I mean, let's be honest. He wrapped up the championship a couple of races ago, so
Well, to
he's
be
probably...
fair, he won the Super 2 race last round, having got a drive-through penalty, so I don't think that's going to stop him, to be quite honest with you.
Very true. Who's he got? He's got Brendan Ross, Cam Rutledge. I think that's it. For
we've got Philip Boak and Brendan Ross. You said Brendan Ross, Luke Joyner. So there's about 5 or so in there. 17 currently in the server, which is good news for Lewis Wedding. To have
I think he's got a bit of I think Lewis is a tiny bit frustrated. He just spun himself going through the stairs and reversed the car at high speed into a wall. Tonight not going well for him thus far.
And Philip Boak there, you can see both he and Brenton Foley running the old HRT livery. Oh my goodness gracious me! So I don't know if that was retaliatory or just a bit of fun that he's gone straight into the back of the DJR car from the early 2000s. So warm-up sessions, of course, tend to produce these sorts of shenanigans. For lack of better pronunciation, but nonetheless, that's what we're looking at.
I wouldn't say that again. There was a syllable in that word that, when isolated, would upset a particular cultural group.
I mean, we say country all the time.
It's true.
As Ethan Warren does some burnouts,
the
pit
country.
exit. Well, should we have a break and then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Break sounds good to me, Stairs.
Yeah, we'll have a break, and then on the other side, we'll talk about our predictions for the race ahead.
Fantastic. I'm very excited.
All right. Well,
fantastic.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We'll be right here.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, just waiting.
And it's lights out and away we go. It's a great start from Sebastian Vettel.
Wink up off the inside. McLaughlin uses his space. They run, but the Red Bull Racing man has got through. The champion's done the job. They're all gone. They're all gone. Tander's off. McLaughlin's off.
Make room. Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. There's another 7-time champ. Jimmy Johnson wins his 7th NASCAR Sprint Cup championship.
Welcome back to the streets of Adelaide. It's party time because it is the final round of the AMS Oz Supercars Championship for 2018. My name's Stairs, joined in the commentary box by Madbird. And
yes, that's me.
It's been quite a championship. It's toed and froed rather a lot. It looks as though it's going to fall the way of Brenton Hobson, but is there one final twist in this championship for us?
I honestly don't really have any idea what to say, Stairs. It's been it's the only thing I've really commentated with AMS Oz, and it has thrown up no shortage of surprises and horrible events for many of our competitors. In particular, our two title protagonists, who seem to find ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory every time, except for the last couple of races. So honestly, I don't know, Stairs, and I feel like if I predict something, it's just going to not happen, and I'll look like a plumb idiot.
Fair enough. Well, speaking of people who snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, Dane Warren, currently sat on pole position, has never finished in this championship higher than just bringing the details up in front of me. But as far as I'm aware, from leading the race he's not finished higher than 11th place in the 2 starts that he's made so far. The last one out being Pukekohe, where he made his start from pole position and ended up DNFing. So it would be a brave man to predict a win for him, even though he's got the pace tonight.
Yeah, he always seems to just push that little bit too hard, and just the car can't handle it. And around Adelaide, that's a recipe for a crash into a wall and losing many wheels.
Well, they say that cooking is an art form and baking is a science.
Do they?
Yeah, just to touch on your point on recipes. It's not really relevant apart from that. But anyway, Jaden Draper in the Botlow car, he's one to watch. Speaking
of recipes, people that frequent the Botlow probably don't have many.
Oh, there's, Sunnyvale and orange juice. But anyway,
mixing is a science.
There we go.
Absolutely.
Some banter in the live chat. Gta's saying that I'm obviously needing another line of Coke. I don't think I'd do that again. The sugar really burnt the inside of my nostrils last time. So
and if you're talking about the powder, we have a friend Mono who has bogarted the entire Australian supply of Coke. So the chances of us getting hold of any of that are not likely.
Single-handedly keeping up the economy of Central America.
Colombia. Yeah. It's just, it's crazy. The cartels call him El Mono Man.
You'll put my kid through college.
Oh, go fuck yourself.
Hey, now there is a line, isn't there not? Nah, there's probably not.
There is a line, Jenkins.
References that no one will get. Well, anyway, Ethan Warren's currently sitting at the top of the warm-up timesheets. Don't know whether that's of any real significance at all. Tricky pit exit here. Right onto the racing line.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's and at the racing line, you tend to want to get as far across to the the right-hand side of the track as possible, which even it takes you across the pit exit and out the other side, basically. So if you're exiting the pits, you got to be very, very careful to make sure there's no one coming, or you're going to end both of your races.
You certainly will. Just seeing Jake Maloney there doing some practice starts on the pit exit, as we're talking about the pit exit. So he's obviously, I mean, as far as he goes, he was unlucky last round in Pukekohe to DNF from the lead of the race. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we see him on the winner's mantle at the end of tonight's events.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Brenton Foley seems to have sorted out his issues. He's set a couple of not too bad lap times during the warm up. So
set up in the pit lane.
Yep,
but we're going to have a sneaky old little look at him.
Lewis Wedding has done 5 laps, which I imagine is mostly practice, considering he hasn't.
Just hide behind him. Sorry.
Didn't have much of that.
What? The Konica sponsorship on the front there. We'll just sneak up and see if he notices us. You can see the bonnet catches on the top of the bonnet there. It's quite a good view you can get there of the car. There it is, in all its glory. Oh, he's gone. No, he hasn't. He's driving forwards. I think he knows he's on the broadcast.
He's shy. He's trying to escape.
Come back. He's gone.
A real life version of Brockmeyer, says Mike Coulston, which I feel like is a undue insult.
Anyway, Brody Steen there sitting in 4th place. He was doing pretty well in Pukekohe, but it all kind of came undone at the end for him with that disastrous end of the race for, to be fair, anyone but Kurt Stenberg.
I was about to say, pretty bad for everybody, especially us as the people that had to watch it. It was very messy, not the sort of thing we like to see, and hopefully tonight is a lot cleaner. Lewis, I feel like it's not controversial to say that Lewis had his race ripped away from him.
No, I don't think that's controversial at all. He was doing very, very well. I think it's fair to say he was quicker than Hobson last round, which is, and I think he'd be the first to admit it's not always the case. I think after his win in the race all the way back in Simmons Plains in round 3, I think he admitted in our post-race interviews back then that it was probably a little bit unusual for him to have the advantage over Hobbo, but nonetheless, that was the case that day.
Yeah, and it was we were robbed of a beautiful battle on track between the two as they were closing up towards the end of the race, and someone took out Lewis. But regardless, all we can do is look onto this race. 17 runners in the server. Lewis, 12th place. Well done there, making the opening of your bottle audible. Lewis in 12th place, and his very good.
Excuse me.
His the antithesis of Lewis Wedding, Brenton Hobson in 5th place. So 7 places between them, which Lewis did start from quite a far way behind Hobbo last round. So I wouldn't count him out of a decent finish, but I honestly don't think that there's any chance that Hobbo will not win this championship, Stairs.
Yeah, there's a couple of permutations which I suppose we'll go through if they eventuate, but one of the permutations basically is Brenton Hobson making the start, which he's about to do. He's on the cusp of picking up which would be his 3rd AMS Oz title with his 2 Super Series title. He is about to wrap up the Porsche Cup title as well, and the Supercars would make it'd be his 3rd one and potentially going to be 4 by the end of the week as Dane Warren gets some aggressive tyre warming underway. He's only one.
Some people are just greedy, aren't they, Stairs?
Well, Foley has more titles than Hobson at the moment, but nonetheless, that's no disrespect to Foley. He's just been in the right place at the right time, and Hobson maybe hasn't it on occasions. But anyway, he's only won 2 of the races in the 12 races we've had so far. The first one was all the way back in round 1 in Adelaide, and then Winton in round 6.
Yeah, it's an odd championship because the 2 guys that are fighting over it have only won 3 races between them, 4 races between them.
Lewis Wedding's win in Simmons Plains in round 3. That's his only victory, but they're making it away around on their warm-up lap. So let's quickly take you through the grid before the race starts. So Dane Warren leading on pole position, fairly quick warm-up lap, it has to be said, so we better get a wriggle on. Thomas McMillan will start alongside him in the black Colin Warwick car to keep us eternally confused. Ethan Warren starts behind him in the 2001 Dick Johnson racing car, normally driven by Mike Coulston, but alongside him will be Jake Maloney of TTL Esports, and Brenton Hobson, our championship leader, all the way back there in 5th place in the Craig Lowndes car, followed by Will Devonish, who looks set to wrap up 3rd place. Well, actually, I say that. He is in 3rd place, but Kurt Stenberg nipping at his heels, so that'll be interesting, although Kurt Stenberg starting further back in the field than we're used to seeing him. Brodie Steen starts out of 7th place, with Emily leading the 2 Trans-Tasman racing cars and out-qualifying her teammate there, with Kurt Stenberg starting out of 9th place. Colin Warwick will start out of 10th place. Some strong guys down in the field here, so we're on for a cracker of a race. Philip Boak, the Super 2 pole sitter there in 11th place. Lewis Wedding is in the pits, so that's not good. Brendan Ross out of 13th place. This is going from bad to worse from Brendan Ross. Another donut run for Lewis Wedding, I beg your pardon. Well, we'll come back to that because this is a story unfolding as we speak. Cam Rutledge, Jaden Draper, Luke Joyner, Brenton Foley, and that rounds out your grid. So Madbird, Lewis Wedding not taking the grid.
It's well, that's I'm gonna say put a damper on my race or my view of the race thus far. We'll see if he hasn't even come out into the pit lane, so he's not going to take the start, Stairs. The lights are on.
The lights are on, and this is the championship being decided in favour of Brenton Hobson already, because Lewis Wedding needs to come 3rd at the very least to have a chance of the championship. But in front, it is Dane Warren leading the way through the chicane, the top 3 as they started. Going into turn 4 now, Jake Maloney getting overtaken by Will Devonish up into 4th place. So a bit of a tardy start there for Maloney as they go through the staircase for the very first time out of 47.
Absolutely. So, yeah, Lewis Wedding still, he's just come out into the pits. He's just exiting the pit lane now. He is in 17th, a full 25 seconds behind 16th place Luke Joyner. So he's made it let's say he's made it difficult for himself, Stairs.
Well, let's say there's one nail missing that hasn't been yet put into that coffin on that championship. He's still on the lead lap, which is something of a blessing for him, because if the safety car were to come out, then he will get the positions back, but he still needs to finish on the podium with something horrible happening to Brenton Hobson.
Hobbo making a move on Jake Maloney, or vice versa, sorry. Jake Maloney trying to go down the inside at the hairpin. He's stuck his nose up there. Hobbo is giving him the room. It looks like Jake's gotten the job done.
He was already ahead. He was already ahead, so that was
ahead.
Hobson challenging for that position, but it's a bit do or get done there for Brenton Hobson, because Colin Warwick in 7th place will be nibbling at his heels as well.
Looks as if Emery has lost out to Kurt Stenberg between the two Trans-Tasman Racing cars. Not sure if that was a planned change in position, because Kurt's probably got a little bit more pace, but he obviously didn't out-qualify Emery, so maybe just a little bit opportunistic somewhere. So the
first lap complete, and Lewis Wedding is just coming down the back straight toward the hairpin now. So absolute disaster for Lewis Wedding. He's got it all to do, and he really wanted an opening lap pile-up. So just when he found that it was inconvenient for it to occur, no one had a crash. So they're all behaving themselves when they didn't last week. And, well, irony is irony.
Irony is irony, astutely pointed out. Yeah, I was expecting at least some carnage on the first lap, but everyone's sort of keeping their noses clean, which is quite nice to see. Dane Warren with a 2-second advantage over his compatriot Ethan Warren in 2nd place, but Ethan Warren with approximately a car length between himself and Thomas McMillan in 3rd, and that is closing. Will Devonish 2nd and a half down in 4th place, with Jake Maloney all over his trumpet, so he's going to be wanting to defend that position. Jake Maloney going for it, actually.
Here. Yeah, he's going up into 3rd place, but he's gone deep. It's very tricky to get your braking just right. Will Devonish executed perfect switchback, didn't he?
He did. Sorry, I got a chip in my mouth. Colin Warwick.
You weren't expecting me to finish the sentence so abruptly. Yes, Colin Warwick down there in 8th place. Now what's happened there? Kurt Stenberg's got up ahead of him.
He went wide at the Brewery Bend, I believe. Got unsettled on the.
Good hang on to.
Yeah, that was a little bit
save
hairy.
Is the term. Hang on to is not the term.
Good hang on to. Thomas McMillan and Ethan Warren are nuts to butts at the moment. It is they're all
nuts to butts. I don't know where to look, because here we've got Hobbo having a look at Will Devonish at turn 4.
Yep, Dev managing to hold on to it. Well, he breaks a little bit earlier than Hobson was expecting, I think.
Sorry, we didn't see that, but Jake Maloney got back by on Will Devonish, so he's made a mistake somewhere, I think, in order to lose that much time.
Hobbo has his bumper right underneath the rear wing of that Commodore. He is not letting go. Similar up ahead, Ethan Warren and Thomas McMillan. I get a little bit throttle shy when I'm that close behind someone, but these guys don't seem to. They are all over each other, the two Falcons.
No, throttle shy is not a term you would use.
No.
To describe them.
So a little bit cheeky defending, I think, there. For
late move there for Thomas McMillan. I told you this would be confusing. He goes wide though. That is the move. That's what happens. It's you got to park it on the apex. If you sail wide, the car will just cut back underneath you.
I think Thomas McMillan's got a little bit of cause to be annoyed there. That looked like a few moves from Ethan in the braking zone. He jinked right, he jinked left, and then flicked back right again.
Shall we have a looky-loo? Let's go. And now at this point you're not looking at the same screen I am, but can it be argued that Thomas was trying to break the toe, or was that moving 2 moves to block and defend? I'll leave you to make your own interpretations of that.
It was right as they were reaching the braking zone, from my recollection. Obviously, you're the one looking at it. It looks like Kurt Stenberg is caught right up to the back of Hobson, who still hasn't managed to get past Devonish. So Will Dev doing quite well to hold on to that 4th position ahead of Hobson. And Hobson now beginning to have to look in his rearview mirrors as Kurt Stenberg is climbing all over the back of his gearbox.
I think Kurt Stenberg is the... Oh, gracious me! That was a lot of curb there for Kurt Stenberg. But, yeah, he's the man to look at. I think he was very, very much out of position on qualifying. So he's the man... Well, we've seen it happen time and time again. When he started in pole in Pukekohe last round, he ended up winning the race after jumping the start and getting a drive-through penalty. So I wonder if he's just qualified out of position so he can have a bit of a run just like he has in previous rounds. We've got now Will Devonish losing the position to Brenton Hobson, and Hobson showing everyone how it's done at the hairpin basically.
Yeah, just calmly turning it in, hitting that apex, not giving Devonish anywhere to go. But crucially, Will Devonish has managed to stay ahead of Kurt Stenberg, so he will be extending his gap over those two, Will Hobson, as Kurt endeavours to get past Will Devonish.
And this is personal for Will Devonish, because Kurt Stenberg is the man immediately behind him in the championship, and so
absolutely
he doesn't want to lose too many points. In fact, even if he can just hold Kurt up for a while and reduce the chance that Kurt makes up more positions after the and they're side by side going into the hairpin, because Devonish got a swapper on going into 4. Hobson has a bit of a moment up ahead. This is all kicking off. It
is, and imagine it's a little bit annoying for Devonish, who's been here for the whole season, and he's on the cusp of being overtaken in the points by someone who's only been here for 5 races but has won 4 of them.
Yes, he has. It's been a remarkable run to the line for Kurt Stenberg. At one point in time, we thought that he may have even had a shout of catching the leaders. Just that's how strong his performances were. And here he comes.
And it looks like he's going down the inside there of Will Devonish. Devonish, it looks as if he's got enough space ahead, turns in, manages to hold on to it. Kurt is right alongside him though, but Devonish is going to have the inside on the next corner. Importantly, manages to hold on to that position. Hobbo stretches out to a second and a half ahead of them, and he's catching up to the back of Ethan Warren. So what happened to Ethan Warren?
So Ethan Warren, who was...
he was running up in second.
He was running up in second, giving Thomas McMillan a bit of a hard time. Now Thomas McMillan's getting a bit of a hard time from Jake Maloney, so not a huge amount. It's basically just a tag team swap over for them, as Kurt Stenberg continues to apply the blowtorch to the back of Will Devonish. My goodness gracious me, he's standing up well to the pressure. But
he is. Oh, I thought Kurt was going to try to dive up the inside there.
Yeah, so did I. It's a turn 4 is a very, very opportune. Oh, gracious me, Devonish did well to hang on there. I thought every corner, I have a feeling Kurt's going to dive back in. Emily's catching back up in the background. Colin Warwick with a watching brief, not too far behind.
Absolutely, and Dev is positioning that car, I would say, perfectly. He's not committing to the racing line entirely. He's parking it sort of in the middle of the track, so that Kurt just has to think that little bit longer than he usually would. But he's within a 10th now, is Kurt Stenberg, coming up behind him through Brewery Bend onto the Bradman Straight. So I think this is going to be his opportunity. 2 tenths between them. He's going to pull out of that slipstream, and he's going to go for the move on the hairpin. He's right alongside him. Will Devonish gets it stopped in time. He does. He takes a very wide line, tries to get a run out of the exit. Oof. He gets the swapper. He's up alongside. No, he's not. He's lost out the position, but well fought there by Will Devonish for a couple of laps.
Well, he needed to do that because he's leading Kurt Stenberg in the championship, but even with that swap of position, he still leads by 3 points over Kurt Stenberg. And Kurt Stenberg's gone wide at the final corner, and he's let Emily through. No, he hasn't, beg your pardon. But anyway, it's all swapped around, and Will Devonish back in the lead. So as I was making my point, it became obsolete by the time I finished saying the sentence, which I haven't done yet.
Absolutely. Jake Maloney and Thomas McMillan, that's a bloody close battle going on. They're side by side going through the stairs.
Oh.
Dane Warren off up ahead.
Contact there into the back of them.
Dane Warren with an 8-second advantage over second place. He could probably afford to start to slow down a little bit and consider what part of the track he wants to crash at.
Oh, Jake Maloney got up into the inside there of Thomas McMillan, but he just a little bit too much curb, and he didn't get the drive out of the corner. They're all sorts of swapped up through Brewery Bend. And Brenton Hobson's catching up fairly quickly to this battle as well. So Thomas McMillan, Jake Maloney, Ethan Warren, and very soon Brenton Foley. Now look behind Brenton Hobson, beg your pardon. Behind them, Will Devonish is coming under a further attack from Kurt Stenberg, with Kurt on the inside down at the hairpin.
He waits that little bit longer to turn in, does Will Devonish, and I think that's costing him. If he turned in a little bit earlier, I think he'd managed to keep up alongside.
It's tricky to see. These cars have a significant blind spot, especially when you're driving with with, well, I don't know what sort of screens. Actually, I think Will Devenish does have multiple screens straight into the back there of Kurt Stenberg. That is terrible.
That's contact. That is a shunt and a half, and it looks as if Will Devenish knows it. He's pulled off the side of the track. He is letting Kurt Stenberg back through and then rejoining behind him in 10th place. So
smart move. He'll avoid penalties for that. So I was
about to say as it happened, and I think we'll get to this battle for second in a second because holy shit. But I was about to say that Will Devenish was much too close behind Kurt Stenberg. He was basically bump drafting him along, and that's never going to go in these cars around this circuit. Jake Maloney's gone wide.
Oh,
Jake Maloney's gone wide.
Warwick up the inside, a bit of curb there. Jake Maloney, where is he? He rejoins behind Brenton Hobson, or alongside at the very least. No, he's lost 3 positions out of that, so that's a disaster for Jake Maloney. Thomas McMillan second, Ethan Warren third. Oh my goodness gracious me! They look like a pair of Tour de France cyclists, and when I say pair, I mean 4. Trying to swap position. Oh, down the inside here goes Ethan Warren, and nicely done. They're all checked up on the exit, but Ethan Warren makes his way up into second place. It's Warren Brothers 1 and 2, but for how much longer? Colin Warwick trying to drive around the outside.
Cam Rutledge, sorry to cut across you. Cam Rutledge in the wall without a front left tyre. So he is going to be, there he goes into the pits. And we also lost Jaden Draper on, I think, the second lap.
Yeah, Rutledge retired there. So Lewis Wedding's up into 14th place.
I won't say it's all coming up Wedding because, quite frankly, it isn't.
Not. No, it's certainly not.
Dane Warren now 12 seconds ahead, so...
Oh, my goodness. So Ethan Warren and Thomas McMillan basically bump drafting through the chicane. It doesn't get much more scary than that. I feel like the Blair Witch Project was a picnic in comparison to that sort of action.
Oh,
down the inside there. Oh.
I feel like no one could have said that better, Stairs. They're just all over. How has Jake Maloney gotten back past Brenton Hobson? I missed that. They are just every corner. They seem to be just opposite lock, like just jackknifing around every single corner.
It's like watching the Caterhams on the Apex Rear Wing on Wednesday nights. Tune in next week for that sort of action, but it really is. Oh
Ethan
my
Warren
goodness, there goes Thomas McMillan for the inside. Here he goes.
Trying to break the toe, didn't work. Thomas McMillan down the inside.
In breaking the toe, he said, here you go, have a go at second place, and he did. And gets a little bit of a nudge there from Jake Maloney, because opening the door, he almost let them both through. Remarkable stuff. So in terms of, let's just update you on where Kurt Stenberg is. He's in 9th. He's still oh my goodness, it's 3 wide down at the final corner there. These guys are not letting me update anyone on any championship positions at all.
I think they're trying to monopolise the screen time, Stairs. And
they're doing a very good job of that. Yeah, well,
absolutely.
we've got 4 cars in the one picture driving through the chicane at Sums. Oh, this was always going to happen. This was always going to happen. So Thomas McMillan is out of this race. He's lost his front left. He's lost his rear wing. So what?
And he's right in the way. People luckily noticing him getting out of the way. Kurt Stenberg looks like he was going to fly straight into him, but managed to avoid it. Yeah, he took out his front left wheel, took out his bonnet, then decided that wasn't enough and flashed across the track to take out his rear wing. Brendan Foley spinning out into an escape road by the looks of it down in 12th. So that's not going to help his position. Well,
we just saw a replay on there, and we can exonerate any blame from any of these other 3 because it looks like McMillan did that all on his own without any help from Ethan Warren. So that is good news for these guys. It means that what we're watching is a legitimate battle for second place, and Ethan Warren going down the inside of Jake Maloney.
I think vice versa. I think Jake Maloney was trying to take the position from Ethan Warren.
Around the outside. Well, he seems to have done a good job of doing that. Here he goes.
Around the outside.
Like 3 trailer park girls. Sorry, 2 trailer park girls. 3 trailer park girls will go around the outside, round the outside.
2/10 down into the final corner, so he's going to be pressurizing Ethan Warren to use a Croftyism down into the chicane, just riding on the front bumper of that car. They are so close going through that corner.
Yes, they are.
It's terrifying to watch.
It is terrifying. Some comments coming through that if we were being paid, it wouldn't be enough. I feel like we should set up a Patreon account. Oh my goodness! Ethan Warren hits the wall at the exit of 4. I might get your thoughts on the Patreon account idea.
Very. Colin Warwick in 4th place now. With Ethan Warren. Whereabouts is he? He's down in 9th place. He's still up against the wall. He hasn't moved. Hasn't managed to move it.
No, so that's a disaster, and he's fallen well down the order, which means Jake Maloney has got a bit of breathing space because Brenton Hobson is quite a ways off the back of him. So Ethan Warren doing a very good job of distracting everyone from our financial aspirations here.
Absolutely. So his brother, meanwhile, 15 seconds out.
This is what it looks like, by the way.
I'm sorry?
I'm just showing people on the broadcast. This is what he looks like, by the way. He hasn't really got much airtime, so just...
Oh, no, he hasn't.
Him.
Yes. No, yeah, this is him. He's probably just thinking, like, going, now, do I want to DNF here, or how about this corner?
Well, when we gave Matt Williams a fair bit of stick during the Spanish Grand Prix and the now defunct Formula 1 Championship, and in that race he ended up finishing on the podium. So,
so maybe we're talking him into a win at this stage.
We're giving him the commentator's blessing.
Yeah, is that what it's called?
As opposed to the curse.
Well, I mean, it's the commentator's curse in that he will probably do the opposite of what we're saying. It's just that we're suggesting that he isn't going to finish the race. So the commentator's curse is, in fact, the commentator's... Blessing was probably a good term, and I've gone into a lot of detail about something I really didn't need to. Hobson is 2.3 seconds behind Jake Maloney, so he's lost out during all that.
Steen and Emery's pretty close as well. That's the battle for 4th and 5th place with Kurt Stenberg.
Their tyres have got to be hurting. Kurt Stenberg right behind Steen as well, so it's a tasty little battle warming up here for 4th.
My oversight in preparation for this race to do with finding out fuel numbers and tyres means that I don't actually know what the fuel window is for this particular race.
Well, I mean, I guess we'll find out along with the rest of the audience, which really isn't that the most legit way of commentating? No.
Had a bit of a glimpse at the live chat and decided to read some of the comments without actually rereading them, because that way I misread them, and there's something about buttered nuts in an ashtray or something like that. So anyway, we'll move on from that.
On the Patreon idea, Stairs.
Yes.
What would we use that money for?
To make the broadcasts better.
But how?
Well, they would be better.
But how?
Well, in every way possible.
Fair enough. So what we wouldn't do anything different. We'd basically improve our quality because we're getting paid.
No, we just we'd continue doing them.
Fair enough. It seems legit to me.
Yeah, more hookers and blow. As Snowballs has said. Snowballs being one of the former competitors in this particular series, Jamie Snow. Yeah,
definitely. Haven't seen him around for a little while. He's disappeared past the wall, just like Jon Snow. But
excuse me.
Someone's stationary by the side of the road.
Oh, Who's that?
That is Luke Joyner. Yes.
It's been a rough series for Luke Joyner. Oh my goodness, there's a crash going on in the background.
There is. Who is that?
It's one of the Kurt Stenberg or Emily cars.
That was... Oh my god, I can't see. I can't...
Because Dane Warren's got a fastest lap. We can't see who we're actually on board with.
Emery, I believe, has lost out. She is down in 7th place behind Will Devonish. Oh, gracious me.
That was a heavy impact with the wall. Now, what happened there? Was she assisted or did she just grab too much inside curb? That is indeed what happened. Too much inside curb for Emily Jones, and remarkable reflexes from the cars trying to overtake. Was that... can't have been one of the Warren brothers. Anyway.
No, well, Ethan Warren is no longer in the race, so it would have to be Dane Warren, who is basically non-existent. as far as the race is concerned, being 17.5 seconds ahead of Jake Maloney in first place.
So it's been quite a heavy rate of attrition now. So Draper, Rutledge, McMillan, Warwick and Joyner now joining everyone. Unintended pun, would you believe? Joining the rest of those guys in retirement, which means we only have 11 guys left. And of those 11 guys, Brendan Ross, Brendan Foley and Philip Boak are all in Super 2, which means that there are only 8 guys left in the top category, as Emily gets an awful lot of curb there at the market corner and keeps it just out of the wall with some remarkable skills. And considering Brenton Hobson's still in the race, there's a lot wrong with that car. Considering Brenton Hobson is still in the race, he can't possibly finish low enough to lose the championship, and in the strangest way possible, he's just been crowned the Supercars champion.
He would, if he DNF now, he would come 11th if we had no further changes between now and then.
But that wouldn't be 11th in class because Foley, Ross,
of course,
and Boak cannot take points off him, so he would finish at worst in 8th place.
Well, congratulations, Hobson. You just won the most hollow victory there is.
Fuck!
I say that in jest. He's he's done the hard yards in this series, and he's been here every race, and he hasn't been kissed on the dick by the fairies, as a friend of ours would have said. He has had his own share of issues in between like his computer and his internet and all sorts of stuff happening. So he has certainly worked for this, and I won't say that it's undeserved.
It's not undeserved.
Because it isn't. No, absolutely. Are you all right there, Stairs?
Yeah, I'm just cleaning a fair bit of liquid off the floor.
Fair enough. Feel like I may have had some part in that. But yeah, Emery. Emery is DNF.
Up a little bit. Well, that's no surprise there. Her car was was making a Safeway shopping trolley look like a Lotus Elise, to be quite honest. So she was dealing with some issues from the earlier contact that we saw. Well, she actually had another crash. That's what happened to her.
Brendan Ross in the pits. So I believe he's our first runner to pit.
Oh, good.
So lap 14 is when the pit window is open, as far as we're concerned.
Because we didn't find out. We've also got some other cars in the pits. No, sorry, we don't.
Will Devonish managing to stay in 6th position behind Kurt Stenberg. So I'm not sure how the points work, but I think that means that he manages to keep his lead just if they finished as they currently are.
Well, to be fair, that is actually something worth following, because that could come down to the wire, and that very much is the battle to watch with Devonish in 6th place and Stenberg in 5th. The gap between them as it stands would be 3 points in favour of Will Devonish.
So very close. So as long as Devonish manages to hold on to the back of Kurt Stenberg, then he is looking like a shot for the 3rd place in the championship. Which,
well, I'll tell you what, my buddy old pal.
Yes.
Philip Boak and Brenton Foley behind him cannot take points off him, because they are in Super 2 and Will Devonish is in the Pro AB category. So in terms of that, he's not particularly under any threat. Lewis Wedding is probably his biggest threat, and just looking at the at the time difference
about 30,
between Lewis Wedding,
30.5 seconds between the two of them.
Yeah, and in terms of their lap times, on the previous lap, Lewis Wedding was about 0.3 slower than, more than that. He's lapping in the 33s, and Will Devonish is doing 32s. So Will is faster than Will.
Oh.
Will is faster than Lewis at the moment. But what matters here is how many positions Lewis Wedding. How many positions Kurt Stenberg can make up.
Absolutely. But Will isn't dropping off the back of Kurt, which would be pleasing as Kurt comes into the pits. Oh, good drift there. Hangs the back out around the little hairpin that is the entrance to the pit lane, where I believe David Coulthard managed to
Kurt
crash
Stenberg
into
in the pits.
And Hobson has also had a pit, so he's just left the pits in 5th place. But Devonish not falling off the back of Kurt Stenberg, which I think would be quite pleasing to him. In fact, he's catched a lot of time up, considering he's caught a lot of time up. Sorry, Forgot English is not my native language.
Yes. Oh, Brendan Ross has a drive-through penalty, so that's probably for speeding in the pit lane.
No, because he hasn't been in the pits for a few laps. He was the first person to pit, so I'm not sure.
The first thing that I've got wrong all night is, well, I'm sure we can... Oh, Dane Warren in the pits, so not doing a David Coulthard and driving straight on into the pit. It is a very tight pit entry, let's be fair here.
It is, absolutely. I reckon that might have been corner cuts that Brendan Ross has got his penalty for, because it's quite easy to do around here. There's a lot of corners.
Yeah. Very much is. Just to now someone commented in the live chat and I've lost it because it's disappeared. Snowballs has asked what happened to Lewis Wedding at the start. Well, the answer
he didn't.
He didn't start. He ended up taking to the pit lane as the drivers were making their way through the first corner. He was just coming out of the pit lane and ended up basically half a lap back from the very beginning. So
yeah, he would have started in I want to say 12th. He qualified, so he wouldn't have been starting at the front anyways, but he certainly would have been much closer to the pack than he was. He came out the pits about 30 seconds behind the last place runner, I think. So it's been all there for him to do, and thus far he hasn't done much.
Well, it's pretty close at the front with Jake Maloney and Dane Warren only less than a second separating them. Now, they've both made their pit stops, if I'm not mistaken.
Jake Maloney has not.
Ah, well, then never mind.
Because Dane Warren had about a 20-second advantage over Jake Maloney. So.
Gracious me, Jake Maloney backing it in like Marc Marquez into the hairpin there. That was...
Dane Warren probably wants to be a little bit careful here because Jake Maloney's on very worn tyres. And probably feeling a little bit racy, and he wouldn't want to come a cropper of what is essentially a back marker, at this stage. Jake Maloney hasn't hit, so he will be getting out of the way by himself in a lap or two's time, I would expect.
Now, Madbird, this is interesting. Kurt Stenberg has started to fall back into the clutches of Will Devonish here.
He has. Maybe that was maybe Will Devonish had a better pit stop or something like that. But yeah. That's a couple of car lengths as opposed to the few seconds that he had before, and he's having a cheeky little look at it. Don't think it's going to happen this lap, but he certainly has caught up to him.
My goodness!
Oh, that's a little bit.
Yeah, a bit of a nibble there. Kurt went wide. I think he was just struggling under brakes a little bit into that corner. Cheekier than the view from a camera inside a toilet. That was amazing.
That's certainly Snowballs in the chat saying. Can't blame Lewis Wedding for wanting to steer clear of the rabble. I would agree with you, but
he's still to catch up to and pass the rabble though.
If that's all he wanted to do, then he could easily have just started from the pit lane. But he did not leave his garage until the lights had already gone.
If you don't win, then if you win, then you'll be clear of the rabble.
Absolutely. Dane Warren has proved that you can start on pole and be clear of the rabble. Jake Maloney not giving this position up, but I think he's going to have to.
Well, we're just looking here at Stenberg and Devonish, because Stenberg's made. He's getting held up here by Brody Steen because they've all caught up fairly quickly. So Brody Steen, I believe he may have just come out of the pits. That's a very, very close battle going on there. 3 cars occupying those positions, and Will Devonish will not want to see Kurt Stenberg get past Brody Steen because that'll mean that more points for Kurt Stenberg.
Absolutely. Phil Boak up in 4th place, hasn't pit yet, and neither has Brendan Foley, I think, which explains their positions. Will Devonish, he's hanging in there, which good on him. He's got to try to hang on to the back of Devonish and not get any cars in between them, because that'll be when the point situation starts to become an issue.
Yeah, he can lose. He can afford Kurt Stenberg finishing 4th if he stays in 6th place. But if Kurt finishes 3rd and he finishes 6th, then that's no good.
That does not go.
My goodness gracious me! I think that was an unintentional pass there for Will Devonish. There, he accidentally put the snorkel on, and he accidentally attached his scuba suit.
Good Lord. That was a cigarette paper's width between the front of Will Devenish's car. And
Oh, what the goodness!
It's happened again.
Well, that's
it's happened again.
That looks very, very bizarre. I don't know what on earth happened there. Let's catch the replay because we saw down at the hairpin there, Kurt Stenberg with the inside. And let's go on board with, if we can find him. There he is, on board with Will Devenish as they go into turn 4. Deary me. Bad misjudgment there. Did Kurt brake earlier than normal, or did
that looked like a very early break from Kurt. I mean, obviously I'm not the one in the car, so I can't really speak, and it is the driver behind's responsibility to, you know, be aware of these things. But regardless, you're not going to expect a car. I'd say that's braking about 10 meters earlier than you usually would.
Well, he was slightly offline, so you would probably brake a little bit earlier if you're defending and you're on the inside line. So
it's very true.
He's they're in 7th place. How much damage does he have from that accident?
He doesn't. Car doesn't seem to be handling too bad. It must have some damage with that bonnet being missing, but it doesn't appear to be crabbing or anything. So no suspension damage. He didn't really hit the wall at all. So that's a positive thing.
But he's well down now. Will Devenish may well be in danger of getting a penalty for that. And
Kurt Stenberg into the pits, so I guess he's repairing. Might be worth Will Devenish giving himself a self-imposed drive-through or something similar, just to show some level of awareness.
We haven't seen a safety car appear yet in this race.
No, which there's been a few pretty hefty shunts, so that's surprising.
It seems like Kurt Stenberg's going to be stopped for quite a while now. He's dropped behind Lewis Wedding down into 9th place, so it's just not going well for the man who won the last 2 races in this championship.
Dane Warren going through the chicane, so let's see where he brakes for this 4th corner. And yeah, he's braking at the bridge, which they certainly weren't at. As you say, Kurt Stenberg was offline, but still that seems like a big difference. Jake Maloney.
Well, Maloney's DNF'd.
DNF'd, yeah. What's happened there?
That is a good question.
We sound incredibly.
Oh, he's had a crash. He's had a mighty old crash. No, he hasn't. He's had an engine failure. Coming down to the hairpin. Listen. I think he's done a hobbo. He's put it in the wrong gear. Yeah. Hobbo will not like me referring to it as a hobbo, but that seems to have been the case, and then the crash was just in frustration after having lost his engine. So, dearie me. Jake Maloney becomes another high-profile retirement in this race. And Brenton Foley is off! What on earth is going on in this race? Brenton Foley, as we rejoin live action, these are live pictures of Brenton Foley bogged in the gravel trap. He gets it out through the skin of his teeth, but loses a chunk of time.
He's come out behind his teammate Philip Boak, who in turn is behind the 1st place runner of Dane Warren, obviously not for position. Hobbo is now up into 2nd, which wasn't looking likely earlier on in the race, and Brody Steen in 3rd place, which would be a good return considering his messy last lap at Pukekohe.
Well, just to touch on that Foley incident, I think that was quite quick thinking from him. He realised that he wasn't going to make the corner. He locked it up and then steered away from the wall in order to minimise the damage. And as a result, he gets to fight on for another day. His teammate Philip Boak, though, is well ahead of him at the moment and is looking good for the Super 2 victory. But Foley is still 2nd in class.
Yeah. And I mean, Foley is the champion, so how much is he willing to fight with his teammate over what is really, you know, a consolation ribbon when he's already got the grand prize? But I was going to say something. It's completely gone. Completely gone.
Yeah.
We're down to 9 runners, Stairs. So about
9 runners. And 3 of those, sorry, 3 of those are from Super 2. So there's 6 in Pro AB.
Half distance and half runners.
Oh, it's just occurred to me that this is a highly attritional race, and
I wasn't aware of that.
I'm reminded now of what Bagsy and I were put through by this collection of people from in Bathurst.
level of disgust in your voice when you refer to them as this collection of people.
Oh, I mean, this has already occurred to Roadies Racing, who comments, Albert Park F1 recollections, anybody? I'm not sure if it's quite that bad, but we certainly have had a number of attritional races in which you and I have presided over, and one of those being the Eastern Creek race.
Absolutely. Dane Warren got very cheeky with the wall on the exit of the chicane. Thought that was going to be the moment that he finally puts us out of our misery as to where is he going to DNF on the track.
Beg your pardon, but the replay graphics playing up at the moment, so beg your pardon for that.
But yeah, he's managed to hold on to it. That was Jesus Christ. I thought he must be listening. He must be listening because he's teasing me now.
We're still on the replay, so we'll probably
just
see
wait
that in
for
about
it.
15 seconds or now.
There was
that's a bit of stunt driving there from Dane Warren.
Yeah, I was right there with you for that Bathurst race, not in the booth, but I was watching and trying to feed you juicy factoids, and that was indeed a painful race.
Facts, I suppose. Facts about the circuit itself, which thankfully I guess we have stored in our tiny little brains, having lived in this particular part of the world for a large portion of our lives. And the Adelaide Grand Prix, of course, basically the only reason that Adelaide citizens really got up in the morning from 1985 to 1995.
Yeah, there was literally nothing else.
I mean, that's why it was called Adelaide Alive, you know, because before that...
Yeah. It was the only thing that kept it going.
Yeah. I reckon I would put a tenner on Brenton Hobson winning this race the way Dane Warren's driving right now.
A tenner?
Yeah. I'm not a betting man, but if I was to bet, then I would.
Well, you know, how about we make this a friendly, whatever money gets made gets put into, you know, the exclusive account. ARW stubby that's going to be the reward for season 7 in the Caterhams. I think I've the opposite of commentators curse Dane Warren enough that I reckon he's going to pull this home. So I'll match that tenner, Stairs.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You want a stubby holder that says, may your Christmas be as excellent as a sausage on a stick?
May your Christmas be as shit as the last lap of Pukekohe.
I don't think I wish that on anyone.
42 seconds, the gap between Dane Warren and Brenton Hobson. So... Dane Warren set the fastest lap of the race, not on his last lap, never mind. But he's still setting pretty bloody quick laps for a man that's, you know, quick. 3/4 of a second ahead of the next guy. So he can probably cool his jets a little bit. Probably not going to, but he probably could.
But, well, he's coming up to the first corner. You got to watch that first corner. It's a doozy.
Lewis Wedding has caught up to the back of the PBF race engineering guys. And this is for position, even though they're not racing for the same championship. So, Lewis Wedding gonna have to find his way past the two blue Komodos.
Fuck is wrong with you? Gracious me, Dane Warren is absolutely hanging the tail out of that FJX Falcon. He really is. He's just having fun out there, isn't he?
He is. He certainly is, which, I mean, all power to him, but, like, God, you're 3/4 of a second in the lead. Calm down.
3/4 of a minute, even.
That's what I mean. Much more than 3/4 of a second. Brody Steen on for a podium.
Just, let's go to, Philip Boak and Brenton Foley are fairly close on track. So, I reckon, what's Philip Boak doing? He's behind.
He's let... Foley's gotten through at some stage
because
he
had made a mistake or a pit stop because Foley spent a fair bit of time in the gravel trap, you know.
He didn't come out too far behind. He didn't come out too far behind Philip Boak.
I spent less time in the sand trap at kindergarten.
I don't think that's true. Do you remember the sand pits right down the back of the old playground at Wollonga, Stairs?
I remember Michael Hams kicked me in the face.
Oh.
Wasn't on purpose, he says.
I remember digging like pits and then loading up sticks with ants and putting those ants in the holes and then trying to keep them in the holes and then burying them when they got out, which looking back, I had the makings of a psychopath about me, but luckily I kicked those habits.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you, if you were in kindergarten now, they'd tell you you're a gender-fluid individual.
Absolutely.
Philip Boak's coming under some pressure here from Lewis Wedding, and it's not something he really needs to fight because they're in different categories, and
yeah, it looks like
Boak obliges Wedding by letting him through.
Yeah, he hasn't made that too difficult for him. He got very out of shape through the chicane, so he was never going to hang on to that, even if he did try to fight for it, I think. So Foley's next one up the street.
He is.
Lewis currently 5th in class.
Jamie Snow saying that's debatable. I'm not actually sure what he's referring to. There was a few things that we mentioned that were probably debatable.
Yeah, which bit is debatable, Snowballs? And tell us that now for you, which will be in 15 seconds when we've forgotten about what we're talking about.
Probably.
Quite a hefty dent on the right-hand side of Dane Warren's car, probably from one of his little stunt driving moments.
How much, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you need to go to the bathroom right now, Madbird?
0.
Oh, okay.
For
how would,
one of the...
How would you feel if I had a quick break and relieved myself, because I don't see myself lasting another 20 laps, 19.
Stairs, I see where you're going with this, and I am happy to take the reins, buddy. You go slash. I will hold down the fort.
Yep, and for the audience's benefit, I don't necessarily condone everything that Madbird says in the next 25 seconds. What, 25? I've given myself a very short amount of time.
Yeah, someone get the stopwatch out.
All right, 25. I can tell you right now, it won't be 25 seconds.
Oh. Yes, Stairs, precocious pisser. He often, spends several minutes in there just making sure he gets rid of every single drop, because he doesn't want that thing to happen where you shake it and then you put it away and then you look down and there's a couple of little drops of wee on your on the inside of your undies or your boxes or your jeans if you're going commando. Although if you are, God help you with that zipper action. But Dane Warren, 46 seconds ahead of Brenton Hobson. So this is a dominant performance. Can't wait to see him bin it. Brenton Hobson, 2nd position, which he probably wouldn't be expecting. They were fighting very heavily for that 3rd position earlier in the race. 3rd position, which Brodie Steen is currently occupying with an 18-second deficit to Brenton Hobson, and that doesn't look like it's going to be coming down anytime soon. Will Devonish in 4th place, 10 seconds down on Brodie Steen after a bit of a controversial moment with Kurt Stenberg, who... Kurt Stenberg down in... Where is he? God, I'm going the wrong way on my... Apologies, stream viewers. Kurt Stenberg down in 8th, which puts him behind Foley, Lewis, Wedding, and Philip Boak. The absentee Philip Boak, obviously. Much like the absentee Stairs left testicle, but don't tell him I told you. Brendan Ross...
What the fuck are you talking about?
Our last runner on track. 30 seconds behind Kurt Stenberg in 9th place.
Testicles?
Jake Malone... Oh, sorry?
What did you say?
Why are you mentioning testicles?
I definitely heard the word left testicle.
I think you're going a little bit crazy, Stairs. I was just merely running through the runners that are in the race. Jake Maloney, our most recent DNF in 10th. Emery 11th. Luke Joyner in 12th. Chad Warwick? Colin Warwick in 13th.
Chad. He's such a Chad.
Ethan Warren, such a Chad. Ethan Warren in 14th. Thomas McMillan in 15th. Got what he deserved after Pukekohe, I think. Cam Rutledge in 16th. And Jaden Draper, with only 2 laps under his belt, was our first DNF back in lap 2. So welcome back from your P, Stairs. How'd that go for you?
Yeah, it was good. The neighbours... window overlooks our yard, but I don't think they could see me.
That's definitely a positive. I remember once in an MSN conversation very long ago, Stairs, you mentioning to me how you go and piss outside your bathroom window.
Oh yeah, I don't think that was. No, I'm pretty sure that was a dream you're talking about.
No. But the issue was that what you meant was you went outside and pissed on the grass outside and it just happened to be outside the bathroom window. Meanwhile, in my head, I had concocted this entire weird setup where you stand on the toilet and pee out through the window, which of course isn't the case, or at least so you would have me to believe. But
Yeah, it could quite easily have been the lounge room window. It's just that was where it was.
That's just happened to be where that particular patch of grass was. How was that grass faring by the time you moved outstairs?
I moved slightly from one part to the other because it does have an adverse effect to an extent if you pee on the same patch non-stop. But if you rotate somewhat, like Mum would certainly advocate that I pee underneath the lemon tree a little bit. Not on the lemons themselves, but underneath the lemon tree can cause the lemon tree to for its citrus fruit to grow.
Philip Boker's DNF'd. I'm not sure what happened there.
Oh no.
But he's DNF'd out of 7th place.
Sorry about that. I keep buggering up the replay transition graphic. I'm not sure what's going on with that tonight. But anyway, let's...
Jamie Snow,
I think he's blown his engine up.
Timely, you need a lemon tree comment in chat. So he's across it.
Ugh. Well, just to finish on that lemon tree point, when I moved out of my parents' house as a young adult and spread my lovely wings, the lemon tree died shortly afterwards.
Your suggestion is a correlation.
Well, I mean, any scientist will tell you that correlation is not necessarily causation, but I think the evidence speaks for itself.
Absolutely. Lewis Wedding up into 5th place, but a good 40 seconds behind Will Devonish in 4th place. So I don't see him overhauling that.
He can't physically win the championship. Mathematically, metaphysically, any kind of physically.
If the points worked in a sensible fashion, where if you did not finish the race, you did not get points, then there would still be a chance for him, but unfortunately it does not work that way.
Biggest question mark right now is over Will Devonish, who's currently sat in 4th place on the road with Kurt Stenberg back there in 7th place after having pitted for extensive repairs after Will Devonish crashed into the back of him at turn 4. Yeah. As it stands there on the road, there's 8 points in favour of Will Devonish, but what sort of penalty will Will Devonish receive, if any, for the accident at turn 4, and if so, will it be enough to hand the championship 3rd place position back in favour of Kurt Stenberg?
Well, I mean, AMS does seem to enjoy the time penalty, which at the moment there is about 52 and a bit seconds between Will Devonish and Kurt Stenberg. So assuming
my goodness gracious me, sorry, Lewis Wedding has just done a David Coulthard. And that seemed like a very late decision to move into the pit lane there.
Oh, so he's hit the entrance, has he?
Well, he's done a remarkable job to avoid hitting the entrance. Let's watch him on board. And, here he goes, and... Oh! Lewis Wedding!
Excellent. Excellent work with that one. As I was saying... 52 seconds. It's come down to 50 seconds now as Will Devonish has been caught up behind Brendan Ross for about a lap. But still 50 seconds the gap between Will Devonish and Kurt Stenberg. So that would have to be a hefty time penalty in order for Will Devonish to lose a position, which seems unfair. In ARW, we tend to gravitate towards position penalties because they're kind of a lot less vague and hand wavy than time penalties.
Lewis Wedding rejoined behind Brenton Hobson. We're currently capturing a slow motion replay of them coming through the chicane. The 2 championship protagonists for this year, and both running in their own separate ways. Craig Lowndes tribute liveries tonight, but these 2 have been the class of the championship this year.
They have, and it's not as if they've both driven very, very close to a wall was Brody Steen. It's not as if they've both driven flawlessly all season. Definitely not. They've been. I don't think they would be particularly upset if I said that they've been a bit all over the place, the both of them. But they've been here the whole time, and they have had the pace when it's mattered. And unfortunately as Hobson enters the pits, unfortunately for Lewis, Hobbo's just managed to bring home those few extra points, those few extra times that Lewis hasn't, and that's got a sting at the end of 13 races. Stairs.
It's remarkable actually that Lewis Wedding's still in the championship. He's only finished on the podium 4 times. to Brenton Hobson's, if I can count those up just quickly in my head, 8 times.
Well, it's similar to Will Devonish, who I don't believe I don't know if he's actually had any podiums this season. I saw a lot of green on
One
the
second
points.
place at Perth.
1 second place. Yeah, there you go. So he's had
remarkable
one
race.
And he is well. He is probably the favourite at this stage to keep 3rd place over Kurt Stenberg with that 53-second gap between the two of them. I just don't. That'd be a minute penalty. Seems like something that they're not likely to hand out.
No, and also because the minute actually would add to his time, but then Stenberg is a lap down, so it wouldn't actually affect Devonish's position. A minute, any penalty on Devonish, time-wise, if it wasn't a lap penalty, he'd still finish in 4th as it stands right now.
Stenberg's still on the same lap as Devonish, though. Devonish has not lapped Stenberg.
No, he hasn't, but the leader has lapped Kurt Stenberg, but not Will Devonish.
I copy you, Kemosabe.
Yes, well, G-Tuz thinking my Murray Walker impression sounded like Lewis Armstrong, apparently. I misread that as Lance Armstrong and thought, I've got 2 testicles and have never taken human growth hormone, so that came as quite a surprise. You're right.
Imagine you said Lance Armstrong as I was taking a sip of my whiskey that I wasn't intending to shot. And your mention of Lance Armstrong caused the whiskey to fly down my throat, and my body was not prepared for it. So I apologise. I'm probably going to sound a little bit croaky for a minute or so.
Dreams do come true, Madbird.
Dreams do come true.
As Lance Armstrong would cheesily tell you.
Jamie Snow, the cheating scumbag. Jamie Snow mentioning in chat there, 2 testicles. Madbird begs to differ. Yes, indeed. Lance Armstrong does indeed have 1 testicle, as we all know. I'm not sure.
I think that was a jibe at me, to be honest. Jive?
Oh,
right.
a jibe? A jive?
A jibe.
Was
I don't speak jive.
Jive talking you?
I don't speak jive.
You're done now. So Will
nose long like garden hose.
Yeah, nose look like garden hose. Check your nose, fam. Looks as if there's not much to talk about, really.
Yeah, we're on lap 34 or 47.
Actually,
check the statistics.
Check the statistics. I lie. Brody Steen is closing on Brenton Hobson, 1.1 seconds at this stage. I don't think Steen
made his pit stop. I don't think he has. No, so
I don't believe so.
But let's continue to ham it up as though he hasn't made his pit stop. So Brody Steen closing in the champion-elect like nothing else, like Lance Armstrong closing down Jan Ulrich, and no talk of human growth hormone or anything like that because they're
absolutely.
In cars.
Mike Coulston points out a pair of testicles means 4.
That's a callback to my mistake earlier, which he referred to as the greatest thing that's ever been said, which I'll take with a modicum of humbleness.
You're talking yourself up there, so you're not taking it with a modicum of humbleness. He said the best comment of the day, not the greatest thing that's ever been said ever.
I think it's not a stretch.
I think it is. I think it's a hefty stretch.
Well, I mean, in order for something to be the greatest thing ever said, at very first to qualify has to be the greatest thing said all day. So,
that's very true.
It's much further than something that's not even the greatest thing said all minute.
It's a good point. I mean, you have to start with that. You have to be the greatest thing said this particular second.
Will Devonish has just gone a lap down, so that erases my comment from earlier about Will Devonish not being on the same lap as Kurt Stenberg.
Something's happened. He's only 30 seconds ahead of Stenny now. That's come down 20 seconds.
Let's have a good old gander at the timing screen, shall we? Because we haven't really done that for a while. He's lost 5 seconds in the first sector of this lap alone.
It's not good.
No, we don't know why.
No, so which is probably useful for people who.
There's a bit of a dent in the front of that car.
Yeah, he's possibly hit a wall or something. So, Kurt Stenny is now gaining time on him, which 30 seconds is a much more reasonable penalty to be handed out. So, Brendan Ross with another one for, I'm assuming, corner cutting. But the 30 seconds is a lot more reasonable a penalty to hand out than 1 minute. So chances are
he's inside
getting
that
ever greater.
Yeah, they are. So, well, I think at the moment, though, it does look like Kurt Stenberg, in terms of the race, could climb up over the top of Will Devenish. But if Will Devenish finishes 5th and Kurt Stenberg finishes 4th, then Will Devenish still hangs on to that 3rd place by 2 points.
Lewis is 30 seconds behind Will Devenish, so if he manages to gain a little bit more time, would Devenish still hang on to 3rd place if he finished 6th?
Yes,
And
by 1 point.
Then he finished 4th. Oh, so unless, actually no, it's a similar situation to Hobbo, where unless Stenny pulls off a miracle and gets up onto the podium, there's no chance that Devenish does not maintain 3rd in the Drivers' Championship.
And this has all come about because in the race in Pukekohe last time out, Will Devenish finished 6th on the road, but then ended up 4th because the 2 drivers who finished in 2nd and 3rd and 4th, which was Colin Warwick and Emoy, ended up getting penalties for crossing the line prior to the safety car restart. And so they got 30 seconds penalty, which promoted Will Devenish up 2 positions, which is the reason he's even in with a shout right now.
Yeah, which it's odd that we're talking about this close battle between someone who's gotten 1 second place position, and that's their only podium, and someone who has won 80% of the races they've done in the season.
Well, interestingly enough, it's this is coming down to the wire, but he hasn't. Kurt Stenberg didn't do the first 6 races of this championship, so it's only with this race now that he's actually done more than 50% of the races. Kurt Stenberg, that is.
Well, that's certainly a milestone for him, which we'll all celebrate.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what Kurt Stenberg can do next year if he continues to race in the Supercars. He may well be looking at a tilt towards the Supercars Championship.
Yeah, if he sticks around, that'd be quite good.
If you're watching.
Excuse me?
If he's watching, if he watches this back, just think about it.
Think about it.
Be good to call an entire campaign. Be good.
1 minute and 2 seconds. Dane Warren's advantage over.
He probably won't be watching.
Brenton Hobson.
If he's got
no, he won't. Of course.
Yeah.
No. I doubt it. I very much doubt it. So I'm looking like I'm hanging on to that tenor, Stairs. Dane Warren with
a long way to go, my friend.
Well, we've got 9 laps. It's not a long way.
Well, it's longer than 8 laps.
Nah, there is no conceivable situation in which Dane Warren does not finish this race in first position, Stairs.
Oh, yeah. I feel like you could be quite destitute having said that in the next 15 minutes. Just like...
destitute.
Well, I mean, it's this is going to seem like the most laboured segue ever, but those astute viewers of you may well have seen the Mitsubishi sign in the background of some of the shots, because Mitsubishi, up until about 5 or 10 years ago, was a fairly major employer here in Adelaide. And since the closure of the factory and a lot of the components factories that supplied parts to the Mitsubishi manufacturing plant, a lot of people lost their jobs and are now on the streets, and we refer to them as deros. They sometimes come up to you and say, "Hey man, can you spare $1, or can you piss in the bag for me?" and stuff like that. And they've made Adelaide...
Just piss in the bottle for me!
And it makes it quite... makes it quite unpleasant for those of us who are just there to collect our Oz study or get a healthcare card. But nonetheless, that's probably the government's grand plan, to get as many people off welfare as possible by making it a very unpleasant experience to go there. I can't remember how I got onto this point. Oh yeah, destitute.
Yeah, that would imply that I have, $10 or less to my name.
Unemployment is funny.
I do. It fills me with a small sense of pride, Stairs, to know that, for example, I mean, it's a small thing, but to consider that, you know, a Brazilian, you know, race simulation game released 2 versions of Adelaide as part of a classic tracks like expansion. Like, it swells my little Adelaidean heart to know that we're known for something other than the fringe.
You know what they didn't get right?
What's that?
The ambulance liveries.
No?
I'll try and find one if I can. I think there's one on the inside.
Brenton Russell, another drive-through penalty. Good Lord.
I think there might be one on the inside of the pit building as Lewis Wedding comes down the straight. We might be able to pick up some of the inside. I mean, if something happens in the live chat, if you can see something happening on the on the timing screens, please let us know, because there isn't really much that we can see. Oh, there's a ute. That's not really an ambulance, and by not really, I mean not at all.
Although I guess is it accurate for a 1988 ambulance is the important question.
Well, they had those old Ford ones, didn't they, with the blue and red stripes?
They did, yeah. So it's I mean, it's probably still not accurate for that, but it's less inaccurate than it would be if it was the modern version of the track, which probably uses the same texture. Who are we kidding?
What's that building doing in the middle of fucking nowhere? That's supposed to be over there. What's it doing over there?
That is the downside of being native, is you spot all of the things that are wrong. Like, for example, the fact that those stands are packed.
I can't find any ambulances. I think it might be the V8 version that has an ambulance, but the livery is all wrong. It is absolutely all wrong.
Jamie Snow, I'm not sure where Jamie Snow's from, but he's just said he had the misfortune of ending up in Adelaide a couple of weeks ago, and he can confirm the Deros.
He can't talk, he's from Melbourne.
He's from Melbourne?
Melbourne's full of African gangs and terrorism.
That's fine. That's fine, Snowy. We'll keep our Deros. You can keep your 98% Asian population and hook turns.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that. The world has a 98% Asian population.
Good point. It's
just merely a reflection of the world.
It is. Dane Warren continues his unrelenting push towards victory.
Let's keep an eye on him, because we might miss it if we're not careful. There's 41 laps out of 47, so he's getting ever closer.
Jamie backpedaling somewhat. I live near Albert Park. It's not much better, so fair enough. What's it like living near the worst of the 2 tracks that have hosted F1 in Australia?
See, I mean, people say that, but I still think Albert Park's not bad. It's produced. I don't mind it. It's produced some. It's not a classic circuit, but it's produced some good races. Certainly in the early noughties, there was some, like, in a period of time where a lot of the races were a pretty potent sleep aid. The early noughties Australian Grand Prix tended to be pretty exciting. Especially, I remember one with Montoya and Schumacher. That was pretty good. And then the 2002 one with with Rubens Barrichello launching over the top of Ralf Schumacher. That was pretty good. And
Martin Brundle also having a big shunt.
The very first one back in 1996.
Yeah, and probably according to Formula One Documentary 1, probably the first major huge crash post Senna that everyone was expecting him to be dead, and he wasn't, which everyone's quite happy about.
Yes, well, considering that we've had the benefit of 21 years of his commentary since then, it's remarkable. And people talk about Adelaide in hushed tones. They probably don't remember that the very last Australian Grand Prix that was held in Adelaide in 1995 was won by Damon Hill by 2 laps, which makes this race in particular seem like the finish to a NASCAR race.
Yeah, it wasn't a particularly close, but surprisingly, the highest attendance of any Formula One Grand Prix in Australia, that final Adelaide Grand Prix, 400,000 or something ridiculous over the weekend, and 200,000 of those were on race day. So,
Dane Warren!
Oh no!
What's happening? Has he done his engine? Replay?
That is not. That car does not sound active. It is not. There, I can hear flames. Oh, fuck my tenor.
Well, looks like dinner's on me, because Dane Warren has blown his engine.
It's gonna be a cheap dinner.
What? For $10, you could get half a burger from Burger Boss or something. Gracious me, Dane Warren. The pictures you're looking at are live. Dane Warren has blown his engine.
Oh,
he was in the lead by more than a minute,
God.
and that means
his last lap was only a second slower than the best lap in the race. So he was. He doesn't have an like. You know how when you flick your lights on and off, there's a little sweet spot you can get it in where the switch sort of hangs in the middle and the light flickers in an unpleasant way. He doesn't have that mode. He's either off or he's on, and now, unfortunately, he's off. Although still in first position.
He is still in first position. Such was the lead that he has, or that he had. I say had because it still exists.
By 10 seconds.
If the race would be red flagged right now, he could still win this race, but I don't see that happening, quite honestly.
And 3, 2, 1, 0. Hobson takes the lead of the final race of the AMS Oz Supercars Championship.
It would be fitting that our champion-elect would win both the opening and the closing race of the championship, both held at the very same venue.
Absolutely, just in different configurations. So, Dane Warren, there we go, going back to the pits. So third position, soon to be fourth position, and that promotes Lewis up into fourth. Still not enough. Brenton Hobson is going to win the championship no matter what happens.
Philip Boak is DNF'd somewhere along the line, so I don't know if we caught that, but it means that Brenton Foley is the... Brenton Foley and Brendan Ross are the only two drivers left in Super 2, and Foley once again looks like he's going to win another race in Super 2 in what's been a dramatic domination of that category.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Brendan Ross probably isn't going to overhaul that. With his, 18 drive-through penalties.
Given your the last thing that you said, which was that our old mate Dane Warren would finish the race in first place, which is not eventuated, I hasten to add.
Certainly hasn't. Foley, not a stranger to issues
himself.
He's
stationary.
Has had a massive accident. Yeah, it looks like he hit the wall maybe on the exit of the chicane. Got out of the way for Hobbo and then slid in. Is that what happened? What happened?
Yeah, just catching the replay, and that was hefty contact. Is he out?
Yeah, he's out? He hasn't moved, so he must have some hefty damage. So just as you were well, as I was saying,
so you've made two incorrect calls in the space of about 10 minutes. My goodness gracious me! If you give me financial advice, I will go the absolute other end of the spectrum.
Buy in houses. Houses are big, safe as houses. Brendan Ross is going to...
I'm going to short the housing market. It's about to crash.
Brendan Ross is...
getting another penalty.
Himself another penalty. It doesn't matter. He's going to take the win from Brenton Foley.
He might.
I mean, if he DNFs within the next, 20 seconds, then he won't. But that couldn't happen, could it?
Well, your guess is as good as mine.
2, 3. Wait, what? Okay, this is confusing. The gap to Brendan Ross is now increasing. Brendan Ross is in 8th.
He's coming down to turn 4 now with Foley still ahead of him. And Foley hasn't got up. Ross has just passed where Foley. Oh, and he's had a massive crash. Brendan Ross. He's gone about 600. He's gone about 60 meters further than Brendan Foley did, which means that he would win the race regardless of what happens from now. He could drive the thing into a bloody pole from here, and he would still win the race.
And honestly, he'd save himself, 10 minutes of his life if he did that. Goodness me.
I'm confused.
I don't have words. Brody Steen is in second. Will Devonish on the podium.
In third place.
Yeah.
But Lewis Wedding is, 38 seconds behind, so a 30-second penalty would not be enough to overhaul that gap. Lewis Wedding, strange pace today. He was within 30 seconds, wasn't he, before? That gap seems to be growing.
He was, but Stenberg has lost a lot of time as well, so perhaps Lewis and Stenny had a coming together at some stage. And both have lost time, Devonish as a result. But currently your podium as it stands, Hobbo, who definitely cannot have any situation where he does not finish the race in the lead from here. followed by Brody Steen.
So what are you saying is it looks good for Brody Steen's first victory?
100-point half for Brody Steen. And Will Devonish, you know, horses for courses, he's going to finish on the podium.
Well, I mean, horses for courses. Hobson finishing in the very first round of this championship in first place in Adelaide, and once again here in a fairly strong position. And I say fairly strong with an element of facetiousness, because fairly strong is probably an understatement for first place. 6
runners left, and we're on the penultimate lap, Stairs. That sort of snuck up on us. I thought that was going to drag out a little bit after about the halfway point.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Oh god. Hobbo rounding the brewery bend for the second to last time.
Pretty good.
I imagine he's got that mode where, you know, the light flashes unpleasantly and makes a sort of ticking noise. He's going to sort of ease off a little bit now that he's gotten himself up and did the podium. Jamie Snow going, yeah.
And in reference to the Darrows on Fitzroy Street, they're good for a gilly, I guess. Which
they are good for a gilly.
If anyone who doesn't know what a gilly is, it's the greatest wicket keeper that we've ever had.
It's also a suit that you wear if you want to not be spotted in some wilderness.
Isn't that camouflage?
Well, yeah, but the ghillie suit is a form of camouflage.
Does it say nice, Warnie?
Brenton Hobson begins the last lap of the race
Warnie.
in first place.
That was a bonza flipper.
Brody Steen is coming around the last corner for the penultimate lap for himself.
Not quite Matty Wade, but you know, we'll take whatever we can get in Australian cricket these days.
Starts the last lap. So, of our runners, Kurt Stenberg and Brendan Ross, and neither of them are going to finish the last lap of the race, as they are a lap and 2 laps down respectively. Brendan
Lewis
Ross
Wedding will finish on the lead lap, which is something much to be desired.
Absolutely, considering he started 30 seconds behind. Brendan Ross, for sure, he's going to take out the Super 2 win for this race, which is not to not be celebrated, but it must be said it's probably a little bit hollow being the only Super 2 runner to finish.
For all the excrement that we've spouted today, we really should pay tribute to Brendan Ross, because he's kept this thing alive. It's proven to be a very tricky circuit to drive at, but the Rookie Cup champion for Season 2, Brendan Ross, and he's driving well. He's keeping the thing consistently on the road, and it's paying dividends.
To finish the race first, you must finish. Or to finish first, you must finish, and he has done that.
And speaking
as Lewis Wedding crosses the line, start his last lap.
And Brenton Hobson comes across the line to finish his last lap. Here he is, the champion, his 3rd win of the series, and takes the championship in style. Brenton Hobson.
Brody Steen, probably overdue for a decent result. Had a couple of good results ripped away from him. Coming around the last corner to finish the race in 2nd place, which isn't anything to sneeze at around this track. Very well done to him. Will Devonish, a little bit further back, and not without some controversies during the race, but looking like a solid 3rd position finish for Will Dev on the podium, both in the race and the championship, managing to hold on to 3rd over Kurt Stenberg, barring some incredible penalties.
And finishing a lap ahead of him, so
can't see how that could possibly come to pass. But I will asterisk that just in case. But at this point, Will Devonish champion or on the championship podium.
And Lewis Wedding lights ablaze. Final sector of this incredibly long championship, the longest championship that we've had in AMS Oz. It's really brought us excitement and maybe not quite the end to the championship that we were hoping for, with it sort of becoming a little bit anticlimactic, but nonetheless we've had fun tonight. And Lewis Wedding finishes quite a successful championship for him. And is he going to do the old J-turn and reverse across the line? Yes, he is. It's not going to disappoint us at all. Lewis Wedding finishing in style, and Kurt Stenberg pulling off the side of the road. I think he must have already finished because he's the
Lewis Wedding reversing into the wall there and helpfully throwing his rear wing across the fence and into a spectator's face. So that person will go home very happy indeed.
Well, we've got the new RAH in order to take care of those people. The most expensive building in the world, more expensive than the Burj Khalifa, probably because of the slave labour that they used to build that thing in the Middle East. But we pay our labourers pretty well here, so, you know, it's not all bad.
Yes. Very good. So we have been joined by the winner of...
Not a moment too soon.
Race 30. Yes, thank God to save us from you. Brenton Hobson, the champion of AMS Oz Supercars Series 1. Congratulations, Hobbo. You were there when it counted, mate, and you pulled it home.
Yeah, thanks very much. That was a long race, I'll tell you what, and it was pretty uneventful after those cars all sort of crashed out from in front of me, and you know, I just got to the end, and then Dane blew up of all things. So I'm thrilled to pick up a win because it's been forever. I definitely wasn't the fastest car, but you know, you got to be there at the last lap, I guess, for it to count. So happy to pick up a win. Happy to pick up the win in the championship as well. It's, you know, pretty awesome, and we certainly tried our hardest to lose it this year, but nonetheless, happy to get it done at the end.
I think this is the curse over for you with me commentating on Supercars races, because I mean this has been a very, very long journey, starting all the way back in round 1 at this very same venue, the shorter version of the course, where you took victory in Adelaide in round 1. Your next victory was in Winton when Nether and Bagsy were commentating, and you haven't won in Supercars any other time apart from tonight. So the curse is broken.
Yes, it's not. It's definitely not something that hasn't crossed my mind, Stairs. I thought about that several times. We've had a number of second-place finishes, and you know, we've sucked a bit coming into the back half of the season. As soon as all the iRacing guys joined, it showed that my pace probably wasn't quite amazing, like, you know, sort of everyone thought it was. But you know, we had a couple of bad results, a couple that we threw away, and DNFs and things that we shouldn't have had, and yes, it certainly crossed my mind that you might have been perhaps the curse that was stopping me from getting a win. But in the end, no, we got the monkey off our back at the dying seconds.
There you go. Well, congratulations on a hard-fought victory. And you say you might have sucked a bit towards the end of the championship, but you did finish off with 5 podiums in a row. So that, in my books, is a fairly strong finish. Well done.
Yeah, thanks very much. I just want to thank all the guys here at AMS Oz who put all the work in to run the series. You know, it's really good fun. I keep coming back because I enjoy it. It's not Automobilista is not the most popular thing that happens on my YouTube channel and stuff like that, but I keep coming back because it's a lot of fun and it's a good bunch, and you know, I really appreciate it. And, you know, shout out to you guys as well for what you've done with all the coverage and the broadcasting, and it's so much fun to go back and watch. It's really really enjoyable commentary and stuff like that, and I think it's done a lot for the league as a whole. And you know, big thanks to you guys for all that as well. And a shout out to everyone who's been running in the series, especially Lewis. You know, he's certainly kept me on my toes all the way to the end, and it's a little bit of a shame that the points didn't stack up a little closer to the end. It wasn't a bit of a closer fight, but he's done a great job, kept making finishes when I couldn't. So that was the key. And, you know, it was a good long season. So thanks to everybody who's involved. And yeah, I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that kind words. I don't know if tonight's commentary effort can be considered quite as in the same vein as the rest of our efforts, but we've made.
It was top stuff.
we certainly had fun anyway. But there you go. That was your champion for the Supercars, Brenton Hobson. We look forward, hopefully, to him returning in 2019 for the Supercars in AMS Oz. And of course, thank him for his live streams, which have brought people to our doorstep and viewing us and being part of this group. Moving on to our second place in the championship, Lewis Wedding. Starting from the pit lane, what happened? Was that you just trying to stay out of the mess, or was there something going on to stop you from taking the grid?
I had two thoughts that come into my head. Obviously, I wanted to stay out of trouble after obviously what happened last round, and then my pace in qualifying wasn't great, and I didn't really feel too comfortable out there, so I didn't want to be racing too hard with people in the first few laps and end up getting wiped out. So decided, okay, I'll start from the pit lane, and also I wanted to save fuel, and if there was a safety car, which around this track you'd think there would be, but there wasn't, I was in position where I could possibly one stop, and obviously if I one stopped with a safety car, would have put me right into play, but obviously didn't quite pan out, and obviously from then on I was 35 plus seconds behind the 8 ball, so it was a bit of a lonely race. I sort of battled with Boki and Foley for maybe combined 4 laps, and the rest I didn't really see anybody, so it was pretty boring on my end.
There you go. Well, nonetheless, it's been an interesting championship. You've managed to keep Brenton Hobson guessing towards the end of the championship whether or not he would be able to take it. So congratulations for taking it down to the last round, and a win and a couple of podiums. Well done on a good championship all through the year.
Yeah, thanks. That should have been a couple of wins. Obviously, blew Phillip Island, but it's been a pretty good season. Obviously, these cars aren't sort of my strong suit. They don't have any downforce on them, and they slide around at the rear and don't turn. So obviously for these cars that don't suit me too well, I've done quite happy with how I've gone. Obviously, the second half of the season's not gone too well, and I think it's just a story of both Hobbo and myself in that when we're both looking good over one another, like something would always happen, whether it be my internet connection or he'd have an engine failure. So it was just a bit of a shame. Obviously, the last round sort of dropped the points back a bit. It sort of killed the motivation coming into tonight, knowing it would take a miracle and Hobbs and DNF to really even make it close, to be honest. But it's been a good season. It's been really good, obviously, to battle with Hobbo because, well, obviously he's fast, but he's really respectful and he gives everybody space, and that's all you want, obviously, to have a champion, a deserving champion, that races cleanly, hard, and fair. It's all you ask for. It's the perfect champion, really. And obviously he has been the most consistent, and maybe not in the second half of the season. Obviously all the iRacing guys showed up, but he has been obviously the fastest for the longest, and barring obviously a couple engine failures, probably would have wrapped the championship up halfway through the season. So obviously I'd like to congratulate him. Obviously you guys have done an absolutely fantastic job, obviously taking time out of your evenings and obviously preparing for nights by getting graphics up and doing a little bit of research and all that stuff. I'd like to obviously thank you guys for that, and it's a privilege. Shame I couldn't bring it home. I don't know if I'll drive full time in the Supercars next season, but I certainly will be around, and hopefully season 2 is bigger and better. Well, thank you very much for those kind words, and we hope you don't change your mind after watching this broadcast back. But we certainly had fun tonight. Anyway, moving on to Will Devonish, third in the race tonight, and third in the championship pending any investigations. But you had a pretty close battle there with Kurt Stenberg throughout the early part of the race, but it just it ended up in a bit of contact in turn 4.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed with that. I think I'll have to go and apologise to Kurt for that. I think I may have been in the wrong there. Would have addressed it, but it stayed still for about 30 seconds, so I didn't really want to hang around for that.
Yeah, fair enough. It was looking pretty good for you before that anyway. We saw you made another mistake down at the final corner, but you redressed the position there, so you that was a sensible thing to do, and I made that observation on the call that you probably would have avoided investigation for that incident.
Yeah. So they both ended up being the same sort of contact, braking and hitting the back right corner. So, definitely the last corner was definitely something I could have avoided. But turn 4, I think we were both moving around quite a bit under brake, so it's kind of a hard one to judge. Yeah,
hard to call. I guess we'll let the stewards do their job on that one. But regardless of what happens, congratulations on an excellent championship. I think just missing the one race, so fairly consistent, collecting points in all the others.
Thanks, Stairs, and thanks everyone else for organising this. You've been great.
Thank you very much, and of course, My thanks, of course, extends to everyone else involved in this championship. Let's move on now to the Super 2 guys, and we'll go to our race winner first, Brendan Ross. First place, and you become only the third different winner in this category. Congratulations.
No, thank you. Yeah, didn't know until the very end when congratulations. The win.
I think you might just need to turn your speech talk detection up a little bit because we just missed a bit of that sentence.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah. No. Yeah, a bit of a surprise win. Yeah, Foley actually, when he came into Discord and congratulated me, I didn't even realise till then. Just wish it was probably a better track to win it. It was a shocking night for me tonight, but I don't know. It just proves that you just got to finish to be in the race to win it.
Well, with Cam Rutledge DNFing, that gives you third place in the Super 2 Championship. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so that was probably just the main goal coming in tonight. I saw the point standings and there was a sniff at third place, so that was all that I was really aiming for. Thought in the early parts of the race that I probably could match Foley and Bakey, which probably would have helped me in the end. And yeah, that's just how it went.
There you go. Well, congratulations. It's not too many other people who've managed to beat Brenton Foley tonight. And well, let's move our attention to Brenton Foley, because even though he DNF'd, because we still award points in this series, and this will be the last time it happens in AMS Oz, I believe, but points still go to the people who DNF'd. You technically finished second tonight, our champion for Super 2.
On a technicality, I still look at it as DNF, but might have to blame you two for that one. I watched it back already.
Oh, we're blamed for a lot already, I think.
Oh yeah, I think that I've caused a bit of mischief, and for that I apologise.
No, it's not your fault. I put it in the fence. For probably both me and Phil, PBF team tonight. It was pretty much one of the races where we had a lot of confidence. We loved the setup. We were happy with everything. And then everything went wrong. Yeah, I missed qualifying because the steering wheel was messing up, so I had to start last, and then accidentally either loaded the wrong setup or changed the setting by accident and had my brake ducting way too low, and they were pretty much sitting at about 900 degrees for the whole race.
Oh.
So running a lot more rear brake than I'm used to, which caused a lot of mistakes, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. The championship was great. Yeah, I don't know really what else to say, but thanks to you guys for obviously calling it. I won't go through everything because everyone else has already said it, but we really appreciate it.
Well done. Well, thank you again. And I'm sure Madbird and I could listen to you guys wax lyrical about ourselves for as long as...
To be honest, I think you could stand to thank us a little bit more.
Anyway, how big is your wallet? Let's open up that Patreon account. No, let's move on from 8 wins, 10 races, and 9 out of the 10 wins for PBF Race Engineering. It's been a McLaren 1988 level of dominance for Super 2. So PBF Race Engineering, I'm sure, moves forward into next year with great expectations. I expect moving into the category with the bigger boys.
Yeah, we really wanted to lock out the whole season with wins, but I managed to stuff that one up with a couple of laps to go. But yeah, I know Phil's in the chat, but I'm very much looking forward to being in the main game because I don't feel like I can win yet, but I feel like I can definitely get up there and place pretty well.
There you go. Well, thank you very much indeed, Brenton Foley, and then Phil Boak, second in the championship, and helping PBF Race Engineering to a team's championship, although there aren't too many other two-car teams. But nonetheless, let's not let that detract from a near lockout. 90% of the victories, and one of them went to you back in round number 5 in Montreal, Phil Boak, and that's been a pretty good season for yourself as well.
Yeah, it hasn't been too bad. I gave a couple away at the start of the season, but that's been good. Just trying to chase him down. Montreal was obviously the highlight, and that was a lucky one too because that was close at the end. So that's good. Got to work on a couple of things, but tonight was a shocker. Tonight was a DNF. I forgot to change the tyres and the stops, so I was just babying it around trying to get to the next one, and I just lost it.
There you go.
So
Well, you're not the first to make such mistakes.
No, it was annoying, but otherwise, great championship. Had a lot of fun. Only missed a couple of races, I think, off the top of my head. So that was really good. Well done, everyone, and thank you to you boys. Sensational job.
Thank you very much. Well, the Supercars, that's it for 2018 AMS Oz Supercars Championship, done and dusted, Madbird.
Yeah, it's been a blast, Des. I've always looked forward to every other Thursday here with you, talking about these people driving pretend cars around pretend racetracks. But it's never been boring. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it hasn't. Apart from one, well, maybe. Well, actually, the endurance championship was probably the parts where it might have got boring from time to time. But yeah, this championship's kept us guessing from
the races I've commentated on have not been boring, and I luckily avoided the endurance races.
Well, there you go. Correlation is definitely causation. Anyway, that's us all done and dusted. So, in a week's time, we'll go to Donington Park for round 6 of the Porsche Cup, and that'll be another chance for Brenton Hobson to close out yet another championship with, I believe that's the penultimate round of that particular championship. So we'll bring you all the action. I believe that'll be Lewis Wedding and myself commentating on that one. And as far as this championship goes, we're all finished and we're out of time. So any closing thoughts, Madbird?
Great season, excellent driving from pretty much everybody, and I said it in the chat, but I'll say it here as well. Thanks to everyone that's watched and given us good comments and encouragement and banter during the races or after them in the on the Facebook threads. It's always been a blast interacting with you lot of hooligans. And I very much look forward to doing so in the future. So thank you very much, and thank you, Stairs, for being just a great partner in the commentary box and in life. No, but we have a chemistry, and I'm always I'm never without a smile on my face when we're commentating together.
There you go. Well, those I would reply in kind, but I can't possibly think of words more kind than that. So thank you, everyone, for watching. Thanks for all the kind words in the live chat, and thank you most of all for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
See ya.